during the season of my junior year. I said, do you think I'll be able to go to college? He looks at me, he kind of leans back in his office and he looks at me with this like funky face. He says, what do you mean go to college? And he had something in his hand, he threw it in the corner. See that box over there? That's yours. Go fill out all those letters and send them back to the college and pick what school you want to go to. And it caught me off guard. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, all those letters are for you.
If you had to give one last message, what would that be?
Easy. Don't be afraid of change. And one of my favorite things to do is I tell people, don't be afraid to take two things that wouldn't naturally go together. The way Reese's Peanut Butter Cups were created, they were in a candy shop and accidentally a bar of chocolate fell into peanut butter. And they're like, oh man, we gotta throw this away. And then someone happened to do this. And I said, man, that's really good. And that's how Reese's Peanut Butter Cups were created. So don't be afraid to take things that wouldn't normally go together and try and put them together.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Leaders Talk Podcast, where I'm your host, Jacob Pino, and I interview leaders from every industry, from CEOs to pro athletes to coaches to pastors, and the list goes on. So if that sounds like something you like, feel free to subscribe and enjoy the rest of the video. But today, I have a special guest. Not only is he a STA alumni, not only is he a UM alumni, not only did he play in the NFL for 7 seasons with the Falcons, now the Commanders, the Dolphins, and currently the AD, STA, and above all else, a man of faith, husband, and father, Twan Russell. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome.
But it's funny because I usually start off with the most important question: candy or chocolate? And obviously, I'm gonna assume your answer because there was no payment involved except a Reese's, so that was his payment. So
paid in full.
And
if you ever want me to do anything, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups,
they know
I'm
the
a
secret.
Sucker for it.
They know the secret now. So now the follow-up I usually say of the most important questions is Coke or Pepsi.
Definitely Coke. 100%.
You're the first person to say that.
100% Coke. In college, when in University of Miami, we got there in 1992, and I had 3 suite mates, so it was 4 guys, and we shared the bathroom. And for my freshman year, we all loved Coke, so we started drinking Coke. And then one night, we had this idea of like, hey, let's build a monument, let's just take all our Coke cans and we start building a wall of Coke. So over the course of the year, and now I wouldn't recommend that you do this because I think I got addicted to caffeine. I could not go to sleep without drinking a soda. So every night I would have to drink a Coke.
And that was in college?
To go to sleep. Like I had built up such a tolerance that every night I would drink a Coke, then go to bed, wake up in the morning. So we ended up taking our entire wall and stacking it up with Coke. I wish I would have took a picture. You didn't have cell phones and stuff back then. And then in the middle of it, we got creative. So we started getting like caffeine-free Cokes that were gold. Then we got Diet Cokes, and we started making designs inside the wall. And then the roaches came. So
I don't want to see that.
Apparently, you're supposed to rinse out each Coke can so that you can rinse out the sugar inside.
Yeah.
Apparently, roaches like sugar. So we had a roach problem.
That's nice.
And we had to take all the cans down, and the administration got involved and told us that we had to get rid of it because we were calling roaches in our room.
That sounds like something a college kid would do. That literally sounds like a college experience. I'm guessing that was the highlight of your 4 years in college. You're getting in trouble for building a Coke wall.
We didn't get in trouble.
Also, they didn't get you in trouble?
No, we didn't get in trouble. Like, they knew we weren't being malicious. They just said that, hey, we think that, there's in these rooms in our area, we had a roach problem, and they thought it was coming from our room. The roaches were living in the Coke cans and got nagged they were coming.
That's really nasty.
No.
That's really nasty.
We never saw the roaches.
I don't like to pay. I hate roaches. And it's funny that you say that because in the Cuban culture, have you ever had Cuban coffee, like the real Cuban coffee? They take a shot of it and you're like,
I don't drink caffeine at all now. I'm on the complete opposite.
So you don't, no more Coke, no more.
I because I don't drink alcohol. I
Yeah.
don't. So if I really feel like I just want to hang out
Enjoy.
with the
Yeah.
guys and enjoy it, like I'll be with some guys. They'll
Yeah.
have a beer. I have a Coke.
Yeah. No, it's funny because now for Cubans they have to take. There's this like
I know the shot.
the
I
shot.
can't do that.
No, it wakes. You won't go to sleep, and they drink that to go to sleep. The
I
Cubans drink that to go to sleep.
man,
So I don't know how that works,
I
but
can't do it. That would have me.
yeah, I don't know how they
Yeah.
do it. I've yet to try it, but hopefully one day. But now that we got the most
Okay.
important things out the way, I want to start off from the beginning. Where did your love for football start?
My dad was a high school football coach, so I kind of grew up with it. So I actually started playing football at 5. You're
Mm.
supposed to be 6 years old. So I was playing for Lauderdale Lakes Vikings, and my oldest brother played football, and my brother next to me played football. So I always wanted to be with them, but I was too young to be on the team. So the coach let me play, and I would practice every day, and I would dress up in a uniform,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the start of my love. And then in the summers, we would spend the entire summer with my father. He was a head football coach at Ely High School. So we would go and hang out with him, and I just grew up around football. I mean, I would run sprints with the guys. I mean, I was a little kid. I mean, I
Yeah.
was 6 and 7, 8 years old. I would run sprints with the guys. I grew up as a coach's kid, and I was a gym rat. Just wherever football was, I ended up being there. And as I got older, I got better. You start
Yeah.
playing football when you're 5. At some point you start getting better, and um, then I had the great opportunity to come to St. Thomas Aquinas, and from St. Thomas, I went to University of Miami, and then I was drafted by the Washington Redskins, and then I had the great opportunity to play for my absolute favorite team in the world, the Miami Dolphins, and then from the Dolphins, I finished up my career in Atlanta.
And during that process, when do you think, if like a pinpoint, and when you realize, okay, hold up, like I could go far with this?
It is funny. My predecessor in this position was George Smith,
Mm.
and I remember he was in a different office, and I remember walking into his office saying, "Hey, coach, I'm gonna be a junior next year, and no, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be a senior next year, and I wanna go to college. You think I can? You think I'd be able to get a scholarship? I don't know if my parents can afford to
This
send
was
me
junior year.
junior year, junior. It's like during the season of my junior year. I said, "Do you think I'll be able to go to college?" He looks at me. He kind of leans back in his office, and he looks at me with this like funky face.
Mm.
He says, "What do you mean go to college?" And he had something in his hand. He threw it in the corner. See that box over there? That's yours. Go fill out all those letters and send them back to the college and pick what school you want to go to. And it caught me off guard. Like, what are you talking about? It's like all those letters are for you. There's a box full of letters. See, back then you don't know anything about letters.
Yeah.
See, back then the college process was not email
Or
or
Twitter. Yeah.
Twitter or anything like that. They would send you a letter. You have to fill out the letter. You have to fill
Mhm.
out all the information: height, weight, your phone number.
Mhm.
You didn't have an email address back then, so you had to fill all the stuff out and mail it off. So when you mail it off, then they would call you in at your house. So from probably 6 until about 10 o'clock every night, I would have 20 or 30 people calling me from different schools every single night. It got so exhausting that I stopped answering the phone after a while. I would schedule my appointments. I would say, "Hey, call me at this time," because you didn't have caller ID,
Yeah.
and you had to wait by the phone to answer it. So my mom would help me take the calls, and but yeah, that's how I knew I was gonna go to. I could play football because he said go fill out that box. I
So
mean,
you had no idea there was a box full of letters for you.
no idea. I had no idea. I guess I mean I love football. I was starting. I was playing, but no one was. I wasn't talking to anyone. No one knew how to get in touch with me
Mhm.
because he kept these letters. So once I filled out the letters, my entire recruiting process started. It kind of blew up.
So that was the spark of leading on to the next level, the college level. Now, from the college level going into the NFL, did you ever have doubt during those 4 years that maybe this
100.
isn't for me?
Well, I wouldn't say doubt, but I think one of the driving forces for me, I've always felt I wasn't good enough. I always felt like, I don't know if I have enough ability. I don't know if I can do that because I love watching the game, and I would watch these guys play. Like, man, these guys are playing at such a high level. So for me, I was always working to catch up to them. I always wanted to work and be like them. Someone told me once, it's like, what do you mean? You're always better than everybody else. But for me, I always felt like I need to get better to have the success I wanted. I mean, even my senior year. I mean, my senior year, I'm playing. I started for a little over like 3.5 years at the University of Miami. I think 3 years. 3 years at the University of Miami. I don't know. And I remember my senior year. I'm walking through the I'm walking through the hallways at the University of Miami, and I walk into a room. So I'm going to watch film.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy from the Raiders in there. He's watching film, and I open the door. I say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize." He said, "Hey, no, what's good? What's your name?" I said, "Twan Russell." "Oh, you're Twan Russell?" He's like, "I was just watching you." He's like, "You're gonna play in the NFL for like 10 years." And I was like, "You think I can play in the NFL for 10 years?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, I love the way you play special teams." He's like, "Hey, you're really good at it." Hey, and he gave me like 3 things I should work on. He's like, "Man, you can play in the league." I had no idea that I could go. I was doing an internship with Channel 10, thinking I'm going to be a broadcaster,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing some behind the scenes with them and helping produce like the ins and the outs of their newscast and helping with back they had the Sports Jam live show.
Yeah.
I was helping with that, thinking I'm going to be a broadcaster. I'm going to be in in television. And this guy's telling me I'm going to play football. So after you told me that, I said, okay. Um, I started looking at it a little bit differently. I didn't get an agent
Yeah.
at that time. So we're going into the bowl game. So I played the bowl game. I ended up getting an agent, kept training, ended up getting drafted in the fifth round, and had a great opportunity to play 7 years in the National Football League.
Yeah.
But it's ironic that I had similar situations 2 different times in my life. One in high school, where I had someone affirm that I was going to go to college, and then once in college that affirmed that I could play in the National Football
Yeah.
League. And I don't even know who the guy was from the Raiders. I have no idea who he is. I didn't even ask him his name, but his little wisdom of, hey, work on these things. He told me I need to get bigger. He said he loved my speed. He loved the way I navigate plays. Um, and he just gave me a couple things that I can do better, that I can work on. I went and worked on those things and went to the combine, got
Yeah.
drafted, and had a nice career.
And kind of looking back on those two experiences that you said, one in high school and college, what do you take from it?
Well, I think from college, I learned um, that grit can get you can take you a long way. I mean, I was a 110-pound linebacker playing at one of the most prestigious colleges in the world, and I was just tough. I mean, I just felt if I just throw my body in there, I would be as physical as I can. I gave my best. I would leave football fields and needing IVs. I would literally leave, like I just played as hard as I can. I mean, I played special teams. I played linebacker. I wasn't as good as some of the other guys on the field, but I felt if I can outwork them, if I can try harder than them, if I can give my max effort, whatever happens, I can live with it. And that's the way I lived my college life, and that went on to the National Football League, where I was like, if I give max effort on every single play, I can be good. But then what I learned is that you needed more than just effort. And it's ironic this weekend, Zach Thomas is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
and he helped me change the way I studied to play the game of football. I thought I always prepared at a high level. I mean, I watched a lot of film. I put the work in, but I had never taken an academic approach the way he does it. He literally would break down film. He would write down notes on every single player on the field. He would dissect what are the 10 plays that they would play on every single formation, and he would do that. He would have pages after pages of information on every single game. Where if I was looking at it from a high school, early college graduate standpoint. He was looking at it from a doctorate degree, been working in the field for 20 years standpoint. And I learned that grit and effort is important. Hard work is important. But also, you have to make sure that you're more prepared than anybody else on the field if you want to have elite success. And the reason that he was one of the best linebackers during his time is that he would put the work in, that he would analyze every scenario, and he would reduce, if he had 10 things that can happen on that play, he would reduce it down to 5. So now he only has to focus on 5 while everybody else is focusing on 10. And I've brought that approach to what I do here at St. Thomas, what I did at the Miami Dolphins, where now when I approach things, I look, okay, here's what I want to do. What are the 20 things? What are the 15 things that can happen? And I would dissect and analyze every last one of those scenarios so I'm prepared. So when I walk in that meeting or walk into that scenario or a building project, everything that I think can happen, I'm prepared and I can adjust quickly. And I learned that from Zach. And that's the way he played the game. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to use it while I played because ended up getting hurt shortly after that, and my career ended up ending. But I'm able to use it on a daily basis in my life, and I am indebted to him because he's changed the way I look at success. And success is what you make it. Anyone can be successful. Anyone can be great because everyone has enough. Everyone can work hard, and if you put the work in, you will learn how to do what you love. You'll figure it out, and that's what I've done. Like, I didn't grow up be an athletic director, but because of my experiences from my other job, and because of the great staff I have here, I'm able to analyze situations. We're able to look at different things and talk about every scenario. And even though things are new to us, and even though we've never tried these things, well, we've broken them down in such small things that could happen. We've analyzed it. We've talked about every scenario that can happen. When things happen that are wrong, because it happens all the time, we can adjust. We can move. And even though it's something we've never done before, we can have a high rate of success because we prepared for things that might go wrong.
Yeah. It's funny that you say it because I was having a conversation with my father the other day. And he was telling me, like, when you approach new opportunities, when you approach whatever, a business deal, you can't think of it of like, okay, this is the profit that you're going to make. This is what you can get from it. You have to think about what is the downside to it. Think about everything bad that can happen. Every situation bad, so you account for it. You say, okay, if this happens, worst case scenario, this is going to happen. And then you adjust your risk for that. You move forward like that. You make decisions differently like that.
100%.
And I find it fascinating what you said, because something that I don't think he was thinking business. He was thinking on the field. He was thinking, okay, this being analytical on the field now transcends off the field to you. So it's interesting seeing that.
But you'll see a lot of athletes when you look at the CEOs in the country. I think I read an article that 83% of all CEOs play high school sports.
Yeah.
There's things that you learn in sports that can drive and propel you to be great. How to work with people, hard work, consistency, being on time, dealing with adversity, overcoming challenges, um, having the ability to work by yourself, but at the same time, having the ability to work with a lot of different people. And unfortunately, if you didn't play sports, where would you get those traits from? You'll get those traits from working with other people, but so that process is going to take you longer. Athletes can walk into a scenario and feel more comfortable in dealing with those circumstances faster because they've been doing them from an early age. And the article just went on to say how a lot of companies are looking for athletes to work for them because they know that they have a skill set and they have a work ethic that some people don't have if they didn't play sports.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. And I think it's true. And a lot of these people that founded companies, that took in massive companies, came from super humble beginnings. Like they weren't brought into like the company or a rich family. And like you said, it's a pattern. They're either athletes or they come from that background where they needed it more because it instills something differently.
Yeah.
But kind of that leads me to my next question. You're faced with numerous high pressure decisions on the field. NFL, that's like the most high pressured version of the game that you have to be on top of your game. Let's say you make a mistake on a play. Next play, you have to have that next play mentality. How are you able to still go forward in that play, or having so much pressure on you from your coaches, from the crowds, from the messing up on? How do you make a decision under that pressure?
What's great about sports, it's not just about you. So if you made a mistake, um, yeah, you affected the entire team, but you don't have enough time to sit there and dwell and be upset about that mistake because the next play affects 10 other people. The next play affects, and depending on how many people on your team, could affect, 70 more people that's on your team. So if you're sitting there dwelling on what happened in the past, then you're affecting what happens to those other people that are on your team or those other people on the field. So it's very easy to say, you know what, the next play, I'm going to be present in that play because I need to make sure my job is done so that my teammates' job can be done. Because in football, it's stacking. The offensive line has to do their job so that the quarterback can get the ball. The quarterback has to do their job so that the running back gets the ball or the wide receiver gets the ball. So it takes one person to do their job for the other people to do their job. And then, and the same thing on defense. The front line has to do their job so that the linebackers can do their job, so
Yeah.
that the defensive backs can do their job. And if you have one failure in that wheel, potentially it could potentially it could affect all the people behind it. So the goal is like, at St. Thomas we have that saying, you go, we
We go,
go.
yeah.
You go means do your job. That's what you go means. Like, do your job every day. Take care of your responsibility. Prepare yourself in the classroom. Prepare yourself on the field. Prepare yourself in life. Be accountable. Have great character. Do all the things that you're supposed to do. And when you do that, if everybody does that, then we all go together. So to answer your question, when 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 if you make a mistake, you don't have time to dwell on that mistake. All you can focus on is the next play. That mistake was in the past. You can't do anything about the past. I've never seen someone go backwards and fix the mistake that they made yesterday. Now they can fix the mistake in the future. So stay present, handle your business, do your job. Because if I tell you you had 100 plays and you had one bad play, most people are gonna be like, I can live with that. So focus on the next play. Make sure the next play is a great one. I have 3 kids, and I tell them all the time, like, be present, be present, dominate the opportunities that you have. Because if you're still focused on the opportunities behind you, you're going to miss out on something. You're going to miss out on a great opportunity in the future. And you know, in my life, I have this thought process of failing forward, or I
Feeling
call it
forward.
falling forward. Failure is a part of life. Failure is a part of learning. Making mistakes is a part of the process. So fall forward. I make a mistake at 10 that I don't plan to make when I'm 15. I make a mistake at 15 that I don't plan on making when I'm 20. I make a mistake at 20 that I don't plan on making when I'm 30 years old. And that's important. If I'm making the same mistakes over and over and over, that's a problem.
So falling forward. So falling forward, meaning like you make the mistake, but you're not gonna make that mistake again.
Correct.
And forward, knowing that okay, now you know what not to do.
Correct.
That's what you mean falling
Correct.
forward.
Falling forward. You make a mistake if, like, for instance, if I'm sitting in my office and I make a decision and the decision was the wrong decision, I know in that circumstance, in that situation, I never want to make that decision again. So when that decision presents itself over and over and over in the future, I know I can't make that mistake. Will I make another mistake? Possibly, but I won't make the same mistakes that I've made. So if you're constantly falling forward, if you have a bad game, you tried something new, it didn't work. Well, it didn't work. Next time you got to do something different. And if you're constantly not making the same mistakes that you made in the past, you're going to go forward. You're going to get better because you
Yeah,
learn from your mistakes.
makes sense. That's wise. I think that could be felt on and off the field.
That's
Having
a
that next play mentality is
100%. Be
yeah.
present. That's a life um, that's a life mission of mine, is to be present. Wherever I am, I try to be present. You know, if I'm with my kids, I try to be present. If I'm with my wife, I try to be present. You know, if I'm doing work, I try to be present. It's a good thing and a bad thing because I am so hyper focused. I could be on my computer typing, the world could be falling apart around me. I don't notice it because I'm present in whatever I'm doing. If I'm talking to you, if someone else comes and says something, I have no idea what they said. I'm completely present in you. And that's my goal. Am I 100% accurate? No. But my goal is whatever I'm doing, to be present in the moment, to be all in that moment. Because if I can win in that scenario, then I won something for the day. I won that moment. I won your attention. I won your affection. I won, your thoughts about, hey, you know what? That guy he looked at me the whole time. He was looking at me in the eyes. He was completely engaged. And if I can do that moment by moment, I win. Now, if I'm halfway in on my phone and running around with somebody else, I'm not present. I'm not making you happy. I'm not making the other person I'm trying to split the time in happy. So my goal is to always be present as much as I can in all that I do.
And how do you handle, just to finish this thing, how do you handle someone that you notice they're not present? Let's say a business deal guy you want to go after and you notice he's not present, or an athlete and you notice his like mind is all. How do you handle that?
An athlete I can deal with better than a person, like a business person, because I get and understand sometimes why someone isn't present. Because I don't, sometimes as a leader, I can be talking to you and an emergency can happen,
Yeah.
and they have to switch their mindset. But in football, there's no excuse not to be present. I can't understand why a basketball player would step on the court and not be present. I can't understand why someone would put a bat in their hand and prepare to hit a ball and not be present in the moment. If in sports, if you're not present, if you're not all in that exact moment, there's no way you're gonna be successful. It's too fast. It's too complicated. When you're hitting a baseball, every ounce of you has to be focused on that ball. Every sense, the feel of the bat, the smell, the smell of the resin that they put on the ball,
Yeah.
the eyesight, the hearing of the ball leaving his hand. Like, you have to be completely present in order to just hit the ball. Because if one of your senses are off, you're not going to be there. But in business, sometimes, I can be in a meeting, you know, and be present in that meeting and look down at my phone. Now, if I'm looking at it more than like 10 seconds, it's a problem. If I'm looking
Yeah.
down, I see what's going on. Maybe I excuse myself, but um, in business, you can look down at your phone and then get back into a conversation. But if I'm sitting here the whole time and I'm talking,
Yeah. Your mind's.
I'll ask them. I say, hey, do you need me to come back? That sometimes you have to ask that. Like, if I'm pitching you and you're somewhere else and you're not listening, I don't want to waste my time. But it's hard in business. You're asking for someone's time, and they're giving you the best that they can. I want to be present. That's my solution because that's how I'm successful. Some people can, like my wife, she can multitask.
Oh, all women can
Is that
multitask.
what it is?
Apparently, that's what it
Yeah.
is.
My wife's a realtor. She can do three different things at one time. I
Yeah.
can't. If I'm doing three different things, three of them are not getting done.
Yeah.
That's just me. So.
Yeah. I was actually I made a video about Kobe Bryant, how he was having an interview and he was saying, Patrick Bet-David asked him, hey, like, why are you so good at the sport? He said, because I only focused on one thing, basketball. So my attention was completely on that. So there was no room for like distractions here, relationship. Like, my mind was so focused, and that's how I mastered my craft. And you became a student of the game when you only focus on that. So I find that interesting. But I want to do a little game just
All right.
for the audience, because I know the audience needs a little bit of
Okay.
entertainment,
All right.
knowledge. We got to spit them with that. So I'm gonna say a word. So like say Twan Russell, and in one word you have to tell me what you feel about it.
Okay.
Twan Russell, or describing what I say.
Why didn't I get one word?
One word.
All right.
Twan Russell.
Committed.
NFL draft.
Fortunate.
Being a father.
I don't know if one word can describe that, man.
It's hard.
Blessed.
Faith.
Number one.
One. One. One.
Number one is two words, but one.
One.
Pivotal. That's
Pivotal. I like that. Future.
optimistic.
Gotta finish off with the two most important. Miami Dolphins.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
I know.
We'll make an exception.
I'll make an exception. All right.
And then finally, actually, I want to do two more. UM
Promising.
and STA.
Greatest.
Greatest. I like that. I like the way you ended it. Greatest. But Now I want to wrap it up, and I want to put the ribbon on the bow because I think it's interesting. Now, you could simply learn from your experiences. Like you don't even have to give, oh, this is my advice. Now you could just share your story. Now people can relate. Like, you know what? Damn, that's true. You know, maybe you do have to be present in the moment, something
Right.
like that. So now I want to ask the reverse. What's your advice? Because I see this trend happening. Well, it's always been a thing that athletes in high school, they have the stars or 5 stars, have all these offers. They get into college and you kind of never hear their name again. And they end up like they never get drafted. What's your advice for that person that really their North Star is the NFL and doesn't want to fall into that complacency?
Well, number one, I think if if the NFL is your only dream, you're doing yourself a disservice. I think if you're a high school, college player, and you want to go to National Football League, you need to have a 1B2. So your 1A is football, and your 1B needs to be a doctor, lawyer, police officer, teacher, something else. And I think it's such a small population. There's 350 million people in the United States. 2 million of them play high school football. A couple 100,000 play college. 2,800 of them play in the National Football League. So when you look at saying that you only have one mission and goal that only 2,800 people are going to have in the National Football League, it's too small of a goal. There's room for two. And I think I tell athletes all the time, when you choose a college, a lot can happen. You need to choose a college. Number one, can you get a degree from that school to allow you to take care of you and your family? Will you be proud to have a degree from that school 20 years from now? Do you feel that someone will give you a job who is associated with that school, like create a network? 4, do they have players that look like you? Do they have other people on that team that resembles you? Do you see yourself being able to play in that offense or that defense? Can you play on that team? And and lastly, I think the most important one is if things don't go right, if things don't go exactly the way you want them to go, will you want to stay there?
Everything that you've been through, gone through NFL, doubting yourself in high school, becoming AD, and the future that you envision for yourself. If you had to give one last message, like you know today's your last day, you had to give one last message off of your whole life experience, what would that be?
Um, Easy. Don't be afraid of change. Embrace it. Um, in fact, it's funny. I have this Reese's Pieces, this Reese's cups here, and one of my favorite things to do is I tell people don't be afraid to take two things that wouldn't naturally go together. So the way Reese's peanut butter cups were created, they were in a candy shop, and accidentally, a bar of chocolate fell into peanut butter, and they're like, "Oh man, we got to throw this away." And then someone happened to do this and said, "Man, that's really good." And that's how Reese's peanut butter cups were created. So don't be afraid to take things that wouldn't normally go together and try and put them together. Steve Ross, the owner of the Miami
Yeah.
Dolphins, he's taken Hard Rock Stadium. He has tennis, concerts, football, soccer, and he has Formula One, all at his venue. He's had drone racing. Um, they've done basketball tournaments. So he's taken what most people see as a football stadium and made it into a sports destination. Well, that's what we've done here at St. Thomas. People look at this place as a football school. What they don't realize that we won the Blue Ribbon Award, which is one of the highest honors that you can receive from the Department of Education. So academically, we're elite when it comes to high schools. Also, every last one of our sports teams made it to the playoffs. 16 of them went to states last year and 4 of them won. We're not just a football team. We're a place where people come to transform their lives. We have 4 guiding principles. We believe in faith, family, tradition, and excellence. Faith. We believe in Jesus Christ. We don't apologize for it. That's who we are. Family. We don't believe in transactional relationships. We believe in love relationships. We love our students into the best versions of themselves. Students mature at different levels and different rates. And our number one goal is to make sure that they have everything that they need, because sometimes kids come in their freshman year and they acclimate and they move very quickly and they begin to be successful. Sometimes it takes them to their senior year. We love them the same whether they come in the first year and do exactly what we expect them to, or they take 4 years, because we don't know what God is doing in their life. So we love them into being the best version of themselves. The third thing is we have traditions here that are like guardrails that guide our students into being successful. Just the nature of what we do on a daily basis, give them those guardrails that keeps them on that narrow path to be successful. And last but not least is excellence. We believe in winning as much as we believe in breathing and our heart pumping. And for us, excellence is not, people think excellence is about sports. We want to have excellent character. We want to be excellent in the classroom. We want to be excellent people. We want to be excellent at every aspect of our life. And if we're excellent in every aspect of our life, what happens is you win 126 state championships, because now you have high performing people in every aspect of their life playing something or doing something that they love. So they're bringing that excellence in every aspect of their life onto the playing field. So when it's hard, or when you have a problem during a game, or you need that final shot, now you have somebody who has put the work in, not just on the playing field, but in their life. So when they stand there in front of thousands of people and they have to make the play to win the game, they're mature enough and confident enough to finish.
I love that. And that is true, because as saying an alumni from the school, you really feel that culture amongst alumni, amongst coming back, everything. You truly do feel the faith, family, tradition, and excellence. And now that's where I end off with the most important question. Like you said, you guys believe in Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. For someone out there that has mixed feelings about, they think, oh no, just a religion. Like I don't religion's not for me. And they've yet to experience that peace, like it says in the Bible, that peace that only Jesus can give you. What would you say to that person?
Someone asked me once, I said, how do you know Jesus is real? And I tell them, because I know who I used to be. And for me, my life has been transformed by the King. I went from living a life that was about me to living a life where, in order for me to get to where I want to be, I have to serve everybody else. And what's great about God is that He is the way I envision Him, the way I picture God, is that He's constantly reaching down and saying, "Hey, take my hand, good and faithful servant." And it's up to us to grab it. He's never not reaching out to us. When you read the Bible and you study the relationship that we have with Jesus, He's constantly reaching and trying to connect with us. All we have to do is accept it. All we have to do is take the invitation. And that's why I love being at St. Thomas, because, number one, our faith is essential. There's nothing that happens in the school without sharing our faith. And for me, it was a great opportunity for me to learn about God when I was here. And I think the little times that we're able to share our faith with our students, I have no idea what that's going to do in their life.
Just planting a seed.
Well, the Bible says water and plant. The priests that we have here, the theology staff that we have here, coaches and teachers, our job is to plant and water, share the word of God, live a righteous life, and God will make that connection with our students. He'll give the increase in their heart. He will help them become who He wants them to be.
Yeah, like you said, what you said in the beginning, how God is always reaching out to us. Kind of reminds you of the Bible verse that the work is many, but the workers are few.
Yeah.
That's why He's always reaching. There's enough work. There's enough, like, but the servants. That's when you're called to be a servant. When you're called to follow Christ, that's when it's like.
It's. I mean, think about it. What was the Great Commission? He told us to go out and share and talk about Him and communicate about His love, and the hope that people will come in, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that was a great end off, because I think that's what's the most important. Obviously, like you said, in the school, that's the first thing, faith, and in your life. I like to believe, as a man of God, that's your number one thing in your life, and that should be the number one thing in your life. But truly, I took a lot from this interview, from seeing like the doubts that you went through kind of 2 times, overcoming that, getting to the league, learning from Zach Thomas, how you said, all these things that you've learned in your life, and seeing that kind of like, and there's still more in your future.
I think I'm pretty young. I think I'm still.
No,
I still have some opportunity.
Yeah, and what the future upholds for yourself. I think it's like there's more lessons to be unpacked from everything. But I think there's so many things that the audience and I myself learned from it. So I appreciate you taking the time. Anything else you want to leave off on?
I want to thank you for my payment.
For the recess. I came, I had to admit, I never get late, but I got, I think, 4 minutes late because I almost forgot about the recess, but didn't forget. But if you guys made it to the end and you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, and I'll tag all the things, the St. Thomas page, your Instagram, everything, so you guys can check out his page. Stay tuned for the clips on Instagram, and thank you guys so much for making it to end. Subscribe for more clips from other CEOs and successful people like Twan, and I'll see you guys on the next one.